In this exchange, Senator Adam Schiff confronts Attorney General Pam Bondi with allegations that strike at the heart of corruption, transparency, and the rule of law. What unfolds is not just a dispute over facts, but a stark test of whether oversight has any real force when the nation's top law enforcement official refuses to answer direct questions.
Let me start with the shocking allegations of bribery and pay to play. 2 weeks ago, 4 major media outlets reported that Tom Holman, the president's top deportation official working in the White House, took $50,000 in cash in a bag from undercover FBI agents in September 2024, just over a year ago. According to these reports, Holman indicated he would facilitate securing contracts in exchange for money once he was in office in a future Trump administration. Reportedly, this exchange was caught on tape. Rather than pursue this investigation without fear or favor, the department and the FBI under your leadership or that of your predecessor before you confirmed quietly shut it down. Once news broke, your deputy and FBI director issued a joint public statement confirming that the Trump administration closed the investigation. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt denied Holman took the $50,000, telling a reporter, quote, "Mr. Holman never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight." So today, I hope you can help us get our facts straight. Was that true, what the White House press secretary said when she denied Holman took the money? Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, as I stated earlier, I was not in office. I was not confirmed when that was handled.
So does that mean
Deputy Attorney General Blanche and Director Patel said that there was no evidence that Tom Holman committed a crime. Yet now you're putting his picture up to slander him.
No, I'm putting his picture up, showing an interview he gave with, I think, Fox, in which he was asked explicitly about these allegations that he took a $50,000 bribe, and he refused to answer. He said he didn't answer the question whether he took the money, so I'm asking you the question. Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, I answered that question multiple times. And frankly,
Well, I don't think, with respect, I don't think you did. But in case I just didn't hear you, what is the answer? Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, that happened prior to my confirmation as Attorney General.
Do you know,
I said that.
Do you know, sitting here, whether
All
he took
I
the money?
know is that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Patel said there was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
So
And,
was she?
Senator Schiff,
was she
if
right?
you worked for me, you would have been fired because you were censured by Congress for lying with your
We can
egregious
stipulate to, you can stipulate to all your personal attacks on the Democratic members of the committee.
personal attacks. You've been attacking my FBI director. You've been attacking my office. You've been attacking
What we're interested in,
borders are.
what we're interested in is the answer to these oversight questions. You were asked by my colleague. You were asked by my colleague.
Attacking good people.
Regular order, Madam Chair, so I can ask a question. You were asked by my colleague from Vermont whether you will support providing a video or audio tape, if it exists, of Mr. Holman taking $50,000 in bribe money from the FBI. Will you support a request by this committee to provide that tape or tapes to the committee? Yes or no?
Senator Schiff, you can talk to Director Patel about that.
Well, I'm talking to you about it. You're the Attorney General. This will be your decision. Will you support?
You don't have to tell me what is my decision and what is not my
then-
decision.
then-
I
and
said
you- and
you
you
can
don't
talk
have
to
to-
Director
and you
Patel.
don't have to try to-
You think
you
you've
don't
got a
have
gotcha
to-
with Tom Holman, our
Excuse me,
borders are.
excuse me, you
who's
don't have-
been out there
Excuse me.
fighting for our country
Madam
since
Chair,
Donald Trump took office.
I'm trying to ask a question. Regular order, please. And you don't have to defer to the FBI director to pass the buck. So I'm asking you, will you support a request so that the committee, or indeed, I believe the American people, should be able to see that video or audio tape? Will you support that request?
Will you apologize to Donald Trump
So
for trying to impeach
the
him
answer is you won't support that
after
request.
you now know that
So
Joe
let
Biden
me-
tried
let
to
me
cover up
do
Hunter
this.
Biden's involvement with
Excuse
Ukraine?
me. Let me do this, because I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question.
You were asked, a law degree,
excuse
Senator
me.
Schiff?
You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections to attack the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
This confrontation between Senator Schiff and Attorney General Bondi is less about a single bribery allegation and more about institutional credibility. Schiff's questioning centers on explosive reporting that Tom Holman, a senior deportation official closely tied to the White House, allegedly accepted $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents in a pay-to-play scheme that was reportedly recorded on tape. The gravity of the allegation is compounded not merely by its substance, but by the claim that the investigation was quietly shut down before the public ever knew it existed. In that context, Schiff's demand is simple and foundational. Did Holman take the money? And if there is evidence, why was it buried? Bondi's responses never meaningfully engage with that core issue. Instead, she repeatedly retreats to a procedural shield, asserting that the events occurred before her confirmation and deferring responsibility to subordinates or other agencies. While technically true, this answer sidesteps the role of the Attorney General as the ultimate steward of the Department of Justice. Oversight does not hinge on who was in office at the time of the alleged misconduct. It hinges on whether the current leadership is willing to examine, disclose, and correct wrongdoing once it comes to light. By declining to state whether she knows the facts or whether she would support releasing the alleged recordings, Bondi effectively places the department beyond congressional reach. The exchange also exposes a troubling asymmetry. Bondi invokes the credibility of political allies, even praising the White House press secretary's denial, while simultaneously dismissing documented media reporting and refusing to clarify whether DOJ independently verified those denials. Schiff's frustration escalates precisely because the Attorney General appears willing to defend individuals aggressively while withholding basic factual confirmations that could resolve the matter. In an oversight setting, that imbalance reads less like caution and more like institutional protection. Most revealing is Schiff's closing litany, by enumerating question after question to which Bondi has refused to respond, ranging from ethics consultations and Epstein-related disclosures to January 6th prosecutions and compliance with court orders. He reframes the hearing as evidence of a broader pattern. The issue is no longer Holman alone. It is a Justice Department leadership style that treats transparency as optional and accountability as adversarial. Each refusal, taken individually, might be defended as prudence or legal restraint. Taken together, they form a portrait of systematic non-answering that undermines the very purpose of congressional oversight. Oversight hearings exist because the Justice Department wields extraordinary power, the power to investigate, indict, prosecute, and destroy reputations or careers. With that power comes a corresponding obligation to explain decisions, especially when allegations involve bribery, foreign gifts, election integrity, or the treatment of political allies and opponents. Schiff's insistence on regular order is not procedural nitpicking. It is a reminder that the rule of law depends on sunlight. When the Attorney General declines even to say whether evidence exists or whether Congress should see it, the balance tilts decisively away from democratic accountability. In the end, this exchange leaves viewers with an unsettling takeaway. The most damaging element is not any single unanswered question, but the normalization of refusal itself. When the nation's chief law enforcement officer repeatedly declines to answer Congress on matters of corruption, ethics, and constitutional compliance, oversight risks becoming performative rather than substantive. Schiff's final remark, that this is supposed to be an oversight hearing, lands not as rhetoric, but as an indictment of a process hollowed out by evasion.